Welcome back to my channel, When He Hates Her Life. So in December, I had made a video talking about my most anticipated reads for the year. And I thought that now would be the perfect time to do like a mid-year checkup and to see how many of those books that I have actually read, how many I still have to read. And I was expecting it to be a little worse, if I'm being completely honest with myself. I have read 13 books and I have not read 9 of those books. So we're going to start with the books that I have read. I think I even had said like I had a top 3/5. And one of those, which I think was like lumping this all into one, was Crescent City. I read these 2 in January, reread them again. So I read each of these twice in January, and then obviously read this when it came out at the end of January. I did not read the physical book. I read on my Kindle, and this thing is like so massive. People are talking so much shit about this book specifically, but like this series, and I don't agree. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, but I just love this. I love this. I love Hunt. People talk so much shit about Hunt. That is like, Hunt is my man. I don't know. She's very polarizing. People love to hate on Sarah J. Maas and people that love Sarah J. Maas. And I gave all 3 a 5-star rating. I still love her. Okay, the next was reading Caraval. I don't know. I say Caraval. Some people say Caraval. Anyway, I read Caraval, Legendary, and Finale because I wanted to read Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, and people have said that this is so good. Absolutely need to read. And I'm not disappointed that I read these. I give Caraval itself a 4-star and the other 2 3 stars. I really, really liked Caraval. I read it so fast. And then the other 2 were just like, okay. I forget the main character's name. Oh my God, what's her name? Scarlet. Duh, because Crimson. Okay. I really liked Scarlet, but I did not particularly love Donatella. I am happy I read these 3 first. But do I recommend it? Not particularly. Still really fun though. The next book I have had for a very long time. I'm pretty sure that I had bought at the end of 2022 when everybody had put it in their like favorite books of the year to read. And I just read it in April. I think in April. This was a hands down a 5-star read. I tabbed a fair amount. I have not talked about this book because I don't know how to process it. I loved it so much. I'm gonna have to do a reread, I think, to process it. I absolutely sobbed. It ended pretty much how I was expecting it to end, which is not a bad thing at all. I truly loved it. If you've not read this, you need to read this book. Her writing... The robot's going upstairs. Oh my God, that's so funny. Her writing's amazing. There's just nothing like it. It's so incredible. I was very turned off. I've said this before. I was very turned off by the fact that it was about video games, which is hilarious because they talk a lot about Donkey Kong, and I loved Donkey Kong when I was a kid. But don't let that turn you off because this is truly so good. Such a masterpiece. This book is one of my absolute favorite books, and this one is very hit or miss. I feel like people love it so much or they DNF it. There tends to not be an in-between. I just love this story. It's a slow story. And I will say both of the times that I read this, I followed along with the audio, and it's a really good audiobook. I love the narration and the accents in it. So that might be part of why I love it so much, but I love this book. Truly one of my like top 5 favorites ever. I reread it because I wanted to see if that was the case. It is. I love it so much. Okay, next, The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I was so naive when I bought this book. I'm like, yeah, everyone's talking about it. Let's read it. I got it on Barnes & Noble. It used to be half off, but like 33%, whatever, hardback. You know what I'm talking about if you're a reader. And so naive. This has become one of my absolute favorite series ever. I've not given a 5-star to any of the ones that I've read out of this quite yet, but I'm obsessed. I actually love Ashes and the Star-Cursed King better than The Serpent and the Wings of Night. The novella was amazing. I think people kind of hyped it up for me, so my expectations were a little too high on that one, but genuinely really loved the novella. I still have to read Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, but then of course the new one comes out in November, which is Mish's story. I have pre-ordered that, and I don't pre-order, but that's how much I really love this series. So good. There's still more to come, so if you haven't read this yet, I would start reading them now. I have a order of reading this on my Instagram if you want to check it out, because it can be kind of confusing, but what I recommend, which is also how Carissa Broadbent recommends it. So happy that I read this. I really, really love this. Yeah, go read this because it's just so good. Lastly, of the books that I have read, I did 4 Emily Henry rereads. The first time that I read her books, I read these 2 back to back and within a 3 or 5 day span. Obsessed. Absolutely obsessed. I always say that these 2 are tied for my favorite, but if I really, really had to pick, it's People Who Meet on Vacation. I actually just bought these. I didn't own these. So anyway, loved these 2. And then I read Happy Place. I was obsessed with the beginning, did not like the ending. So I was just like, well, that really stinks, right? And then I read Beach Read, and I liked Beach Read, but wasn't, again, was not obsessed like I was with the first 2. And so I was like, do I like Emily Henry? I'm not really sure. So I needed to do a reread. Oh, and I also read A Million Junes and really liked that one, almost as obsessed as I was with these ones. So I was like, I'm going to reread all of them. So I did. And I had the best time ever. These 2 are still my absolute favorite. I read this in one sitting. That's not an exaggeration. One sitting, which I'm sure I've done that before, but it doesn't happen often. And then I sobbed my way through this one, which actually happened the first time. I understood the characters a little bit better, so I didn't dislike the ending. I loved it. I love Win. If you've seen any of my Instagram posts, I have this weird connection to Win because he is the character I relate to the most out of any book I've ever read. Ever, ever, ever. And that sometimes can be kind of hard, but I love him. I love them. Long story short, I'm obsessed with Emily Henry, and I say that she is my favorite romance author again now after that reread. So that was incredibly successful, and I'm very happy I did it. Also, if you haven't read Funny Story, it's so cute. I have it over there. Anyway, those are the 13 books that I read. I talked about 15, but I was counting these other ones, so. And then there are 9 books that are still on my TBR. These are still some of my most anticipated reads. We're going to start with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I am currently reading this one. I'm 62 pages in. I started reading this last night. I read this in 2022, and that was the first year I really started getting back into reading. I followed along with the narration of Julia Whalen, and if you have seen any of my stuff, I'm obsessed with her. She's absolutely my favorite narrator. She narrates this. I've previously said the first half, but I loved all of this except for the ending. I kind of don't remember the ending, which is a good thing because I am rereading this to see if I will like it better. Following along with the audiobook, I'm hoping that I like this better because, again, I was thinking that this was going to be one of my absolute favorite books ever, and I was just so disappointed. I think I maybe still have gave it a 3 or 4 star rating, but I'm hoping I changed my mind because, again, I really loved it. So yeah, this was one of my top 3 most anticipated books, and I mentioned that I was terrified to read it, and I still am. That is a little life. I love a sad book. I love to cry over books. I do all of the time, but I just feel like this one is gonna wreck me. No, I know this is gonna wreck me. So I need to wait until I have 5 or so days off, which I don't know if that's gonna happen, but to where I can just be depressed afterwards. I will read this. I don't know when. Hopefully this year, maybe in the fall sometime. That feels like an appropriate fall book. I don't know. I really want to read it, but I'm really scared is really just the gist of it. But it's one of my top 3. most anticipated. I also don't know when I'm going to read this one, but I really want to. I'm not sure if I want to reread that series, A Darker Shade of Magic series, before I read this. I read it at the end of last year, completely obsessed with it, but I don't know how much I fully remember the details. I don't know if I really need to remember all the details. I'm gonna say probably not, but anyway, I am excited for this. It's big. Acknowledgements. I don't want to have any spoilers. This is almost 600 pages. It looks like more though, to be honest. Again, this might be another fall one. I love fantasies in the fall. So we'll see. Okay. Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I am like desperate to have absorbed this into my brain, but I don't know why I'm not starting it. I don't know. I feel like everyone was talking about how much they loved these books, specifically the second one. And like as of lately, I've been seeing a lot of people kind of hate on them and say they're not that good, which is like, again, people love to hate on the popular things, but I was a little disappointed with Caraval, and I'm just like, I don't want these to be disappointing. And I know that that's really silly, but that's just kind of how I feel about them. I am going to read these sooner rather than later. I want to finish these this summer, but yeah. Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. Next is What the River Knows. I had bought this when everybody was talking about it. I think again, like at the end of last year, and I'm still really excited to read it. I feel like I'm going to love it, but I kind of want to read it closer to when the second one comes out, because then I think it will be a finished duology. And of course I already know I'm going to want to go right into the second one. So I have to look up when the next one comes out, and then I will read this right before that. I bought this one on a birthday thrifting trip that I did, and I had gotten like 50 pages into it and just never picked it back up again. For reference, my birthday's in December, so the Roomba is now being cleaned. That's so funny. So definitely want to pick this back up. It's a short book. I love a short book. I never read them. For my grandparents who taught me the opposite of disappearing. So yeah, whenever I'm feeling like a short book, I'm going to pick this one back up because I really liked it. I don't know. I had other things to read. So last but not least, this I believe is my number one most anticipated book. I have had this book for a while again and just haven't picked it up for a good reason, because it's long. It's a long book. I think it's almost 1,000 pages, almost 850. I watched this show with my brother when it first came out as a series. I want to say it's been like, oh my God, when did this come out? Was that like in 2015? I thought it was 5 years ago. Anyway, just with my brother when it first came out, and I loved the show, thought about it for days and days after the fact. And so I just know I'm gonna love this, and I wish it hadn't have been spoiled for me. But anyway, I actually have not read a Stephen King novel yet. I have 3 by him, but this is my number one most anticipated. I have a feeling I probably will read this in like the winter time. It's just like a feeling. This feels like a very cozy, December-y. I know I'm gonna love this, but I just keep putting it off because it's so big. So yeah, in the grand scheme of things, I can show you a physical representation, which is kind of cool. Oh, wait. Okay, I'm gonna add one to this. So I didn't add this in that video, and I'm not really sure why, but this has also been on my Kindle since December. And this is another one that I'm like, I don't know why I haven't started it. I really don't. It's also very long. I know it's gonna shatter me as well and potentially turn into an obsession, but that's Manacled. I joked when I got my Kindle, I was like, did I get a Kindle just to put Manacled on it, or did I not? It is like 50% true that I did. So I want to read Manacled so bad. This is the one that I keep talking about on Instagram, about how I'm going to read, and everyone's like, please, yes, what are you waiting for? I don't know what I'm waiting for, but I also hopefully will be reading this by the end of the year. Oh my god. Okay, so this is a physical representation of the books that I have read versus the ones that I have not read. And I feel really good about that now that I'm looking at it like this. Oh shit. There you go, that's accurate. Now, this is the physical representation. And that is including Legendary and Finale that I don't own. I feel proud of that. So anyways, if you made it this far through the video, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, and I will see you next time.